Good afternoon and welcome to BIZTECH's Asia Pacific Cybersecurity Show. Now, every week we update the region on the latest threats and incidents to help you better protect yourselves. Now, joining the conversation, as always, to bring an expert lens to the show is my co-host Benjamin Ang. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian. Always good to be here.
Now, Ben, for a start, we start the week and we start the week's roundup by starting with South Korea first. Now, LG Uplus, which is South Korea's largest wireless carrier, has apologized for the recent leak of the personal information of its customers and internet service failures caused by a number of distributed denial of service attacks. Now, Ben, could you tell us more about this breach and also its impact?
Brian, it looks like about 290,000 subscribers' personal information was stolen. And this is from the country's third largest wireless carrier, right? So that's a lot of people who are involved. And they informed their customers, right, about 1 week after they noticed the leak, which I think is a very good thing, that they inform customers so that customers can take steps like changing passwords or maybe checking their credit card purchases if anything unusual has happened. And so I hope more companies will do this and to notify customers.
Yeah, and one of the things they did, Ben, was also, I think, was good. They recognized the problem, they addressed it with their customers, and then what they also did is say, hey, we need to fix stuff. So what they pledged to do is to increase their cybersecurity strength, boosting their cybersecurity division, and tripling its budget to 100 billion won to ensure that there's no reoccurrence of such a breach in the future. That's, I think, quite bold steps very, very quickly. Okay. Yes, it's reactive, but I think they should be commended by taking bold steps like that.
And I think it's good news, bad news, right? Good news is that they have taken this step. Bad news that it took an incident like this to trigger it. And I hope that other companies out there don't wait for an incident to happen before you increase your budget. It's something that you really want to have in place. You don't wait until the incident happens, then increase your budget. This kind of.
Now, Ben, on a different note, we now zoom over to Thailand. Now, George Orwell's 1984 really brought to the masses the whole concept of Big Brother watching. That obviously since then has become a reality. But the reality is also now that citizens are increasingly becoming more and more uncomfortable about how much surveillance the government is doing on an individual. But in Thailand, citizens are really fighting back. Now, activists in Thailand are suing the government for using spyware technology to monitor dissidents. Now, this is the first case in the country, and they hope that this will help by raising awareness and better protect citizens who are subject to, obviously, globally increasing surveillance. Now, Ben, how does this work?
Well, how it works is that there are different kinds of spyware. In this case, it's alleged to be something called Pegasus. But there are different kinds of spyware which can be installed on your phone. You talked about George Orwell, right? And he was talking about Big Brother looking at you through a screen in your home. But nowadays, we carry that screen with us everywhere we go.
Yes.
And if you can imagine that you have accidentally clicked on an email or a link or somewhere which has installed this spyware onto your phone, now this spyware is with you everywhere you go. It switches on your microphone when you don't know and records your conversations. It switches on your camera when you don't know and takes pictures of who you're talking to. It starts to record all the keystrokes and swipes that you're doing on your screen and what websites you're going to. Everything can be captured and sent to whomever installed the spyware.
Okay, now, Ben, let's talk about the broader question. It's the legal framework. Is this legal in many countries around the world?
In many countries, there is a overriding concern about national security. And I think if we step back, we do find that a lot of countries have concerns about terrorist attacks, and they would justify what they're doing by saying that this is the only way we're going to be able to check on whether somebody is plotting an attack that's going to cause a lot of damage, a lot of death. And that's how they are
So,
justifying
so
use of
Ben,
special.
then the key thing, and it's interesting because you have a legal background as well, besides your technology background. Um, Therefore, national security interests supersede all these legal protections for the citizens in that case.
It depends on the country, because in some countries, the definition of national security is very precise. So you need to actually have a national security issue and a national security reason. You can't just say that, oh, as a government, I'm worried that people are criticizing me, therefore I shall spy on them in the name of national security. But not every country has that kind of legislation. Or in some countries, if you look at it, the government doesn't even have to answer as to whether it's using spyware or not.
Yes, of course. Now, on that note, that's a broad discussion that we could probably discuss, Ben, for 1 hour. But this is a short show. We've got to move on to our next segment, which is really around uh, if you're a Chinese speaker, you need to be listening very, very closely to this because researchers have uncovered a new malware campaign that has been targeting Chinese speakers throughout East and Southeast Asia. Now, attackers offered Chinese versions of legitimate software, but with installers that would also inject a remote access Trojan into a victim's device. Now, most of these attacks took place in China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, but other countries affected also included Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore. Now, Ben, how does this work? Break it down for us.
So if you are predominantly Chinese speaking, or you want to use a Chinese speaking app, and you saw one of these advertisements in your Google search, because that's what they did. They created Google ads that look like a Google search result. And let's say you wanted to download Telegram, but you wanted to download Chinese language Telegram, then this search result appears, you click on it, you think you're getting to the real Telegram website, but actually it is not Telegram, it's Telegram with an extra E. And you download what you think is a Chinese version of Telegram, but actually it's a software which allows the attacker to have remote control of your phone or your computer. And so
Wow.
you basically open yourself up. Yeah, and not just Telegram, it could be Chrome, uh, that it imitated Chrome, it imitated Firefox browser. Can you imagine if your browser was actually the source of a remote control attack? I mean, you would be completely vulnerable.
Exactly. So, how do we protect ourselves? What can we do?
Well, it comes back to the same things, which have to be very careful of what we click, where we download software from that is from the official site. And unfortunately, because these came as advertisements, we have to be careful when we actually click on something that is bringing us to the actual site, telegram.org, not telegram with the extra e.org. And
Okay.
then also I would say, please, if you know friends, family who are using Chinese apps, uh, Chinese language apps, please share this information with them so that they also check.
Now, on that note, Ben, thank you very much for coming on the show. And that's it for this week's Asia Pacific Cybersecurity Show. Now, we've been speaking to Benjamin Ang, Head of Cyber and Homeland Defence at the Center of Excellence of National Security at the Nanyang Technological University in Singapore on BIZTECH's Asia Pacific Cybersecurity Show. I'm Brian Fernandez. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.